Julie, you're off the hook now. He says he's going to take responsibility and marry me.
She knew I was dating him and that we were engaged, but she still had the nerve to steal him away. And now that she's saying she's pregnant, I have no choice but to step aside. When I heard that my fiancé was going to take responsibility and marry her, I felt like I was falling into a pit of despair. I trusted both him and Karen with all my heart. Even after they got married, Karen kept approaching me. I didn't want to see her face, but she kept coming up with excuses, making it impossible to avoid her. And then, she even sent me a wedding invitation. As I stood there, stunned by the invitation, Ryan and Holly, who had noticed my reaction, said something unexpected.
Holly and I will go together.
We're going to cause a scene.
They both nodded with such confidence that I wondered what they had planned. On the day of the wedding, I witnessed something I never could have imagined. My name is Julie Andrews, and I'm a preschool teacher turning 50 this year. I live with my husband, George, while working as a preschool teacher. We have one son, Ryan, who recently got married. After his marriage, Ryan moved out of our house and relocated to the next town to live with his wife, Holly. It seems like they're enjoying their life together, and as a parent, that makes me very happy. The truth is, I never had the best memories when it came to marriage. Back in high school, I was dating a classmate named Nate. We quickly grew close, bonding over our shared love for a band that was a bit of a niche interest at the time. Afterward, I went to a community college to earn my preschool teacher's certification, while he went off to university, and we continued our relationship, even making plans to marry. However, I didn't realize that a dark shadow was creeping into our marriage plans.
Hey, Julie, are you even listening?
Oh, sorry. What is it?
Geez, listen to me, okay? The other day at work.
This was Karen. After she started working, her vibe suddenly changed.
The other day at work, some sales client started hitting on me. It was such a pain to turn him down.
Maybe it's because you're so cute, Karen. How many times has this happened just this year?
I'd say I've been asked out at least 30 times by work clients or partners.
Even her casual actions felt like scenes straight out of a TV show featuring a famous actress.
Karen, you're so cute. Be careful, okay?
I know. Julie, you're such a worrywart.
Even after high school, we stayed close, hanging out and grabbing coffee, so she knew all about my relationship.
So, how's your boyfriend, Julie?
Nate and I are planning to get married once he graduates. Oh, and he's set to take over his family's office supply company after graduation. So he'll be working there as an executive intern.
For a moment, it seemed like Karen's expression changed.
We were in the same class, but I never knew he was the heir to a company.
I only found out recently. He doesn't talk much about his family's business.
Karen looked at me cautiously.
Doesn't talk about it much, huh? He seems so low-key, but I guess you can judge a book by its cover.
Yeah, that's true.
I mean, isn't it amazing that he's guaranteed to be a future CEO?
Looking back, I must have been talking without thinking.
When we do get married in the future, you have to come to the wedding, okay?
Of course, you can count on me being there.
Little did I know at the time that this casual chat with my best friend would lead to something unimaginable. I'll never forget it. About 6 months after I turned 21, it was a rainy day. I had graduated from community college and was busy working as a preschool teacher, but I still made time to hang out with Karen. She invited me for coffee as usual, and we sat by the window at a nearby cafe. As I looked out the window, I saw a woman walking in the rain, without an umbrella. There was no mistaking it, it was Karen. She walked into the shop soaking wet and headed straight to where I was sitting.
What happened? Did you forget your umbrella? I could have picked you up if you'd called.
As soon as Karen saw my face, she looked like she was about to cry.
Julie, there's something I have to tell you today.
She hesitated, struggling to find the words.
I'm pregnant.
I knew Karen had many admirers, but I didn't know she was seeing anyone in particular.
No way. When did you get engaged? Who? Do I know him?
Karen slowly nodded, looking embarrassed.
You do know him.
She swallowed hard before saying something I couldn't believe.
It's Nate, the guy you're dating. Things just happened.
I don't really remember what we talked about after that. The shock must have caused my memory to blur a bit.
So, that means…
It looks like I'm having a boy. Nate and his parents are thrilled about having an heir.
Karen glanced at me with a sly smile and said,
Julie, you're off the hook now. He says he's going to take responsibility and marry me.
She was pregnant, and Nate's parents were on board. That meant there was no place for me anymore. Karen leaned in close, peering into my face, and said one last thing.
For his sake, and for his parents and the company's sake, you should think about your next steps.
As she spoke, she glanced back and forth between me and the cafe door. She was telling me to leave.
Oh, and make sure you don't call Nate. He's getting married soon.
Why, Nate? This has to be some mistake, right?
Don't you dare call him Nate so casually. It's no mistake. If you cause any trouble, there will be consequences.
The look on Karen's face was scarier than I had ever seen. I never knew she had this side to her.
Of course, I won't contact him anymore. I never thought you were the type to do something like this. I hope you're happy.
Thanks. Goodbye.
Karen sipped her milk tea as if nothing had happened. There was nothing left to say to her. All I could do was leave. The shock of being betrayed by my best friend and the man I was supposed to marry left me shattered for a while. I remember feeling like the world went dark around me. I thought about going to see Nate and Karen many times, but I knew nothing would change even if I did. In that dark time, I met George, who was the same age as me, through a mutual friend. Thanks to George, my heart gradually began to heal, and we got married when I was 24. I soon became pregnant and gave birth to our son, Ryan. Living a life filled with trust and love, I had almost completely forgotten about Nate and Karen. Around that time, I gave birth to Ryan and took maternity and parental leave. I was torn about whether or not to go back to work. These days, a lot of people continue working, but I'd often heard how hard it is to balance work and spending time with your kids. However, when I thought about the future and Ryan's school expenses, working seemed like the better choice. I discussed my post-leave work schedule with the head of the preschool, but we concluded that it would be tough to work full-time right away after such a long break. In the end, with the support of the principal and my colleagues, I was able to return to full-time work right after my leave. So, after taking maternity and parental leave, I went back to work. The leave lasted 6 months, and it was tough leaving Ryan, who was still just a baby, to go back to work, but it was necessary for the future, and in case anything happened. It was 5 p.m., the time when parents come to pick up their kids. I was finishing up my day, helping the children get ready to go home, when I noticed a familiar face. That person was walking straight toward the preschool. The moment I saw her face, I knew I didn't want to meet her, but it was too late. Yes, it was Karen.
Long time no see. Still working here, I see.
She looked me up and down with a smirk. I hadn't told Karen about meeting George, getting married, or having Ryan. I had cut off all contact with her, wanting nothing more to do with her. Yet here she was, approaching me out of the blue.
Oh, did you think we could make up? Don't get the wrong idea. I'm just passing by on my way to dinner with Nate.
Something about Karen's words didn't sit right with me.
Dinner? Wait, what about the baby you were pregnant with? Is he or she coming with your husband later?
Karen was visibly shaken by my casual remark.
What, baby? Stop it. Just stop.
Suddenly, Karen collapsed to the ground, covering her ears. Had I said something wrong? Parents who had come to pick up their children started staring at us.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean it like that.
It looked like Karen was crying. She covered her face, but I could hear faint sniffling from between her hands. The stares from the parents picking up their kids were painful. As a preschool teacher, I know just how terrifying rumors can be. Something small can slip out of someone's mouth, and by the next day, it's all over the preschool, spreading to parents and even grandparents. They probably think I said something terrible to make someone's mom cry. The thought gave me a headache. I had just returned to work after maternity and parental leave, and the last thing I needed was some strange rumor making my job harder. But regardless of my wishes, the rumors spread like wildfire. 3 days after running into Karen at the gate, over 90% of the people connected to the preschool were avoiding me. Karen had always been charming and persuasive, so most people believed everything she said. Because of that, I had to endure the painful stares from those around me for a while. I heard from a close colleague that people thought I had cornered a parent until they had no choice but to cry. My colleague tried to clear my name, but the rumors spread so quickly, and with Karen's dramatic sympathy-seeking act, most people didn't believe me. Because of the rumors Karen spread, I ended up feeling uncomfortable at the preschool where I had worked since before my maternity leave, so I decided to quit. The preschool seemed relieved as well, not wanting the trouble of having a teacher who was the subject of rumors. When I informed them of my resignation, they accepted it without hesitation. For a while, I was too scared to work and stayed at home, but eventually, I decided to return to the workforce. It was for Ryan's sake. I still didn't know what path Ryan would take in the future, but whatever it was, I wanted to be financially prepared to support it. That's why I thought it would be better for me to work. Of course, I considered the possibility that Karen might show up again, spreading more rumors or causing trouble. But I couldn't let that stop me. I worked tirelessly, driven by the thought of Ryan's future. George understood how I felt and told me, "I'll do everything I can," and he truly did, taking on a lot of the household chores. Most people would say, "But you have your husband's salary," but I just smiled and brushed off those comments. George's salary was indeed there, but I still felt uneasy when thinking about Ryan's future. Fortunately, I enjoyed my work as a preschool teacher, so I was able to work without any issues at a new preschool. However, the thought that Karen might suddenly appear near the preschool again made my chest tighten at times. Despite battling my own trauma, I managed to save up a decent amount of money. Ryan grew up to be not only kind-hearted but also extremely dedicated to his studies. He aimed to become a doctor to help those in need, and successfully got into medical school. The cost of medical school was even higher than I had imagined, but it was all for Ryan's future. After numerous exams and training, Ryan became an obstetrician. He got a job at one of the most reputable OB/GYN hospitals in the area, and, while working closely with many patients, continued to study hard to become an even better doctor. About a year ago, Ryan married Holly, whom he had been dating since high school. Holly is a gentle, calm, yet strong-minded woman who knows her own mind. I was genuinely happy that Ryan married such a wonderful woman. Ryan, who seemed overjoyed to finally start a family with his high school sweetheart, would occasionally visit us at home. One day, when Ryan and Holly came over, they brought a letter with them.
Mom, this letter was in the mailbox, and it's addressed to you, right?
The envelope they handed me was made of luxurious-looking paper. I took it, wondering what it could be, and the name I didn't want to see jumped out at me. Just seeing that it was from Karen made my head spin.
Mom, are you okay?
Yes, I'm fine. If I collapsed here, Ryan would worry. I gathered my courage and opened the envelope. Inside were an invitation and a letter. It seemed that Karen was having a wedding, but she had stolen the man I was dating and married him about 30 years ago. Why a wedding now? I tilted my head in confusion, and Ryan and Holly peeked at the invitation from the side.
Oh, isn't this one of those vow renewals that are popular now?
Since Holly works in customer service at a restaurant, she probably hears all sorts of things. I had thought she was up to date on new trends, but now I realize just how much she knows about a world that's unfamiliar to me.
A vow renewal. What's that?
It's like a redo of your wedding. Some people do it on a big anniversary, and it's becoming popular among celebrities.
It says here they couldn't have a proper wedding at the time. I guess there are people like that.
I felt exhausted just looking at the invitation. How long was she going to cling to my life?
Mom, you don't look so good. Are you okay?
Yeah, I'm fine. It's just someone from the past. Holly seemed to sense that something was off and asked me,
Is this person named Karen?
It's nothing major, really, but seeing that name just brings up some tough memories.
Someone whose name makes you feel bad can't be nothing major. Wait, this person's last name is Gillen.
Holly seemed to be deep in thought as she looked at Karen's name. Just then, as if on cue, my phone started ringing. The screen showed an unknown number. Given the timing, right after thinking about Karen, I had a bad feeling. The phone kept ringing loudly, and I finally gave in and answered. Hello,
Hi, it's Karen. Oh, did you get the invitation? You're coming, right?
Even without putting the call on speaker, Karen's high-pitched voice was loud enough for Ryan and Holly to hear. Ryan, noticing my expression, started mouthing and gesturing to ask who it was. I pointed to the name on the envelope in my hand. Ryan then wrote something on a piece of paper and showed it to me. The note said, "Tell her you're going." Yes, I'll be there.
That's the spirit. I bet you're dying to see your old boyfriend raking in the big bucks as a CEO, huh?
After a lengthy string of her smug, obnoxious boasts, the call finally ended. Ryan and Holly exchanged a look and nodded to each other.
Holly and I will go together.
Holly nodded as well, pointing to the invitation with a smile.
We're going to cause a scene.
I had no idea what they were planning, but it seemed they had something up their sleeves. I decided to leave it to them. On the day of the wedding, Ryan and Holly would attend in my place. The venue was one I recognized from TV and commercials recently. It's a famous spot. The catchy tagline, "A perfect wedding with an ocean view and sparkling sunshine," kept ringing in my ears. It was just like Karen to choose a place like this. She always had to be number one and in the most enviable position, so I figured she'd pick a trendy venue. But I had heard that holding a wedding there could cost close to $100,000. I guess it makes sense for a place frequented by celebrities, I thought as I looked up. The gleaming chandeliers, the high ceilings, the spiral staircase. Everything about the venue looked expensive. I had discussed everything in advance with Holly. George was also curious to see what a vow renewal ceremony in your 50s would be like, so he planned to watch alongside me. It felt a bit strange to sit side by side, staring at a small screen.
I'll video call you at the right moment, so please watch.
Holly whispered to me through the camera, dressed up for the occasion. Holly, with her usual warm and gentle smile, looked as lovely as ever. Thank you for standing in for me on your day off.
It's no problem at all. You've always been so kind to me. Besides, when someone like you, who never speaks ill of others, makes that kind of face, there's definitely something up.
Holly's intuition was sharp, likely honed by her job in customer service.
I'll keep the video call going from here, so you can watch, Julie.
Perhaps sensing that something unpleasant was about to happen, George suddenly announced he was going out to buy cigarettes and slipped out. Given that Ryan and Holly had gone to the trouble of setting up a video call just to show me, he must have suspected something was coming. George's intuition had always been sharp, something I greatly admired. Then, a slideshow began, showcasing Karen's memories with my ex, Nate. It told the story of how they met through a mutual friend, how they quickly became pregnant, though they couldn't have the child for some reason, and how, after a long time, they were finally blessed with another pregnancy. The video even introduced their child, who was about to graduate middle school, a healthy, bright kid with lots of friends, living a fulfilling life. Through Holly's video call, I could clearly see the images, hear the content, and follow the audio, but I had no idea what was going to happen next. Just as the MC was wrapping up with some emotional words, Holly seemed to stand up. The scene on the other side of the screen shifted dramatically.
What a truly wonderful marriage you have, and what an amazing son.
Wait, aren't you? From Julie's family.
Yes, that's right. We're here on Julie's behalf. My husband Ryan and I attended in her place.
I could see Ryan giving a small nod in the corner of the camera's view. I had no idea what would happen next. Then Holly said something shocking.
Your wonderful son, before you teach him to excel in his studies, don't you think there's something else he should learn?
What are you talking about? Speak clearly.
Karen was visibly flustered, glancing around nervously. The people around them, curious, began whispering among themselves, but no one openly spoke up. As Holly's voice carried through the hall, the atmosphere grew tense. It wasn't just because her voice was loud, there seemed to be more to it.
I work at a certain restaurant, and I've had a lot of trouble with your son's behavior. It's really sad to see a child who hasn't been properly taught basic manners or common sense.
Karen's face turned bright red at Holly's words.
Manners and common sense. Of course, I've taught him that. What are you talking about?
Your son often stuffs uneaten food into the corner of his seat, and I've seen him put his mouth directly on the spice bottles. It's fine to have fun with friends, but is this really how a middle schooler should act?
Stop making baseless accusations. My son would never do something like that.
But Holly didn't back down.
Are you really sure your child would never do something like that? After all, you just introduced him as a wonderful son. Just the other day, he took all the bath tissue from the restroom, which caused quite a hassle.
Holly chuckled, but there was no humor in her eyes. Seeing that Karen was determined not to admit anything, Holly picked up her tablet.
You've never seen how your son behaves outside, have you? This is footage from a security camera.
Audio started playing from the tablet, capturing the sound of Karen's son and his friends goofing off. It seemed they were about to attempt chugging an entire bottle of ketchup.
After this, we had to close the restaurant and sanitize all the equipment. A middle schooler should know better, but apparently, he's fine with downing ketchup like that.
Karen's son wasn't at the wedding, but it was clear that he was extremely disrespectful and difficult to reason with.
This audio is fabricated. Stop this nonsense.
I also have clearer footage that shows his face. Should I play it for everyone here?
Karen went silent, realizing Holly was serious.
Well, I guess there's no need to show it here. I've already submitted this footage and the photos to the appropriate parties.
What? What do you mean by that?
Your son recently finished his high school entrance exams and already has a school lined up, right? He talked about it loudly in the restaurant, so it was easy to find out.
Karen's face drained of color.
When I informed the principal of his future school, they said he wasn't suited for their institution and that there would likely be some consequences. You should be hearing from them soon.
What? Are you trying to threaten me? Stop this right now.
Well, we'll see how things turn out. Maybe you should ask your son for more details.
At this point, Ryan stood up.
Earlier in the video, you mentioned that you couldn't carry a pregnancy to term at one point. It seems that happened when you were quite young.
Karen nodded, looking at Ryan.
Yes, that's right. I was 20, and I overexerted myself during the pregnancy. I never got to meet my baby. It's painful to talk about, so I don't usually bring it up.
Ryan noticed her voice growing quieter.
That's strange. There's no record anywhere of you being pregnant during that time. What exactly are you referring to?
Murmurs started spreading through the crowd.
So there never was a baby.
I had a feeling something wasn't right.
People's whispers were loud and clear.
You've been seeing a gynecologist for some health issues over the past few years, right? From your medical history and records, there's no indication that you were ever pregnant. Isn't that odd?
The room filled with voices, many of them now openly criticizing Karen.
It seems that when you decided to get married, you chose my mother's boyfriend. That's what I heard from a certain source.
Unhappy with this, Karen started shouting, trying to drown out Ryan's words.
Don't pay attention to this nonsense. Security, get these people out of here.
But no one moved. Instead, the voices of those condemning Karen only grew louder.
She used a fake pregnancy to force a marriage.
Was the whole air thing a lie, too?
Attendees are murmuring among themselves.
I don't care who you marry. However, using fake pregnancy as an excuse for stealing someone away really makes me question your integrity.
Like mother, like son. Stealing bath tissue and stealing someone's boyfriend, just alike.
Holly kept the video call going the entire time, so I could clearly see Karen trembling as she faced Ryan and Holly. Honestly, the wedding was the last thing on anyone's mind at this point. Some of the guests were already uploading videos to social media in real time.
I got a comment.
We're getting reactions.
This is hilarious. So many people are watching.
I could hear snippets of conversation, even through the phone. And the area around them was especially noisy. The uploaded videos of Karen's miserable state were gaining traction online. The murmurs grew louder, and the looks people gave Karen became increasingly cold. At a table where some former classmates sat, people even started making snide remarks out loud.
She's always had bad taste in men, hasn't she? I knew there was something off about her. She thought she could get away with anything just because she's pretty. How pathetic.
Voices like these echoed from all around. Before long, the wedding had turned into an open forum for exposing Karen's wrongdoings. Everyone began sharing stories about how terrible she was, to the point where it was hard to believe this had ever been a wedding. Nate watched Karen get torn apart, his expression one of helplessness. Yet, he didn't say a word to her, almost as if he didn't care. It was like he was trying to keep his distance, as if afraid to touch a sore spot. Normally, you'd expect a husband to take some action when his wife is in trouble, but Nate just played the role of an uninvolved bystander. It reminded me of how he was when we were dating. A strange sense of nostalgia washed over me. Holly kept the video call going, occasionally zooming in on Karen's frustrated expression. I couldn't help but think, so she can make a face like that too, as I watched, noticing more people gathering around. It seemed Karen had wronged quite a few people, as I could hear murmurs of remember when she, from various directions. Not paying back borrowed money, spreading nasty rumors, feeding someone expired snacks. People were saying whatever they wanted, and the wedding had completely fallen apart.
What, is everyone here just trying to ruin my party?
Friends sitting at Karen's table looked uncomfortable and began leaving. It seemed Karen had pressured them into attending against their will.
I knew I didn't want to come.
But she insisted, and now look at this.
I could hear their complaints through the video call. People kept leaving, until finally, only a few relatives and a handful of friends remained. Then Holly spoke to me through the phone.
It looks like the party's wrapping up. The venue staff are heading this way.
Of course it is. From here, it looks like the seats are almost empty.
You noticed? It's hard to believe there were so many people here before. Oh, it looks like they're talking to the staff now.
As she spoke, Holly adjusted the angle of her phone. The camera shifted, capturing Karen, Nate, and the venue staff in its view. Nate is the man Karen stole from me by pretending to be pregnant, a man I could never forget, no matter how much time passes. When we were dating and talking about getting married, I truly believed there wasn't a more wonderful man out there. I was so smitten, convinced that both his looks and personality were perfect. But the man I thought was so handsome back then is now unrecognizable. He's probably twice the weight he used to be, with a bloated body and thinning hair. I had heard he took over his father's company, but he looks like someone who's completely let himself go.
It looks like Nate is talking to the venue staff. Take a look.
The phone screen zoomed in on Nate as he conversed with the venue staff. What's going on? Most of the guests have already left.
Oh.
The camera suddenly switched to a close-up of Nate, showing only the back of his head as he lowered his head, seemingly apologizing profusely. I could hear the words about the payment for this wedding from the other side of the camera, making it clear they were arguing over the bill.
I overheard some people saying Nate's company is on the verge of bankruptcy, and he's been borrowing money from everywhere.
Really? But I saw their ads around town recently, so I didn't think their business was struggling that much.
It seems Karen's extravagant spending and their kids' tutoring costs have drained their finances. It's a shame that even with all that money spent, the only thing their kid seems to excel at is causing trouble in public.
Guests who had been listening to the rumors about Karen were now silently getting up and quickly heading for the exit, likely afraid of what she might say if they got caught. A wedding falling apart like this before the official end, this isn't something you see every day. An idea came to me, and I asked Holly for a favor. Sorry, but there's something I want to say to that man apologizing over there. Could you point the camera at him?
Sure, I got it.
Holly spoke to the venue staff, and it seems they connected the call to Nate. I faced Nate directly through the screen. It's been a while.
Julie, it's really you, Julie. What have I done?
Nate looked away from the phone.
I only married Karen because she said she was pregnant, but I really wanted to marry you. Do you remember our promise? It's not too late, is it?
What are you even talking about? You were forced to marry her. You made that choice yourself. You fell for an obvious lie. Did you think I'd feel sorry for you? Nate stood there, looking shocked. You're the victim. You were tricked. You willingly cheated, got married, and now you're claiming you were deceived. How does that make any sense?
Hey, you haven't changed a bit, Julie. That's what I always loved about you.
I felt a chill run down my spine. Nate was the kind of person who always tried to play the victim and manipulate situations to his advantage, only to fail miserably. How long are you going to live in the past? This wedding, or whatever it is, it's just another redo, isn't it? How long are you going to be stuck in the past?
But you used to love me so much that you wanted to marry me, right? Can't you lend me a little money?
What are you talking about? You should focus on figuring out your own future. And no, I'm not lending you any money. With that, I hung up the phone. Nate was probably in shock, given his personality. But that wasn't my concern. In the end, although the payment for Karen's wedding was deferred, it seems that she and Nate are struggling to make ends meet, and Karen has had to start working. However, Karen, who has never held a proper job, is finding it tough to adjust. Her pride is still as high as ever, and she's reportedly been complaining non-stop. It seems she's been hopping from one part-time job to another, but the rumors are that she's completely useless. To make matters worse, I heard from an acquaintance that her pride and joy, her son, had his acceptance to the high school he was supposed to attend revoked. The video of his bad behavior went viral, not just at the high school and middle school, but also on online news and forums, causing quite a stir. On top of that, Nate's company has fallen on hard times, and every time I pass by, the place looks gloomier. As the saying goes, when it rains, it pours, and it seems like one bad thing after another is piling up for them. Around that time, Karen ended up getting hired as a janitor at the preschool where I work. She stood there, looking sullen, in a uniform with the cleaning company's name printed in large letters. I couldn't stand the thought of even saying her name, so I decided to treat her like a complete stranger. You're the one who will be handling the cleaning from today, right?
Tal, what's with that fake politeness? I've been through hell because of you.
But I didn't rise to the bait, and instead calmly stated a fact. My name is Julie, and I'm in charge of coordinating with the cleaning company. If your work ethic is severely lacking, I'll have to contact your employer. Realizing she was in a tight spot, Karen clammed up, but then she quickly started yelling something outrageous.
I know you're trying to ruin my life. You're just bitter because I took your old fiancé, and now they're taking it out on me.
She threw down the broom she was holding as she spoke. I immediately contacted the cleaning company and informed them that she was fired. It turns out her reputation and cleaning skills were already so bad that one more complaint would have been the final straw. At this rate, Karen will probably be like this wherever she goes. I felt a strange mix of disbelief and pity for her. As for me, I'm still working at the preschool, and since that day, Karen hasn't bothered me. Life has returned to its peaceful routine. George has been a huge help around the house, especially when I'm busy with work. He's even improved his cooking skills, expanding his repertoire, so I'm enjoying our meals together more than ever. Recently, I got some exciting news from Ryan over the phone.
Mom, do you have a minute?
Sure, what is it? You sound really happy.
Can you tell? Well, the thing is, Holly's pregnant. The baby might be born by the end of the year.
I was filled with indescribable joy. Really, that's wonderful news.
I'm so happy too, Mom. I wanted to tell you first.
I'm so thrilled. Holly's probably starting to feel some morning sickness around now. I don't want to bother her while she's not feeling well, so let's celebrate once she's feeling better. A baby is going to be born into Ryan's family. Just the thought of it makes me excited. There was a time when I was devastated after losing my fiancé to my best friend, but now I'm surrounded by wonderful people. That gives me the strength to keep moving forward with my life.